Welcome to another episode of You Don't Know Jack with Lydia and Matt. How's it going?
It's going, Lydia.
Yeah.
It's always nice to do a Saturday morning.
It is. We're very comfy, cozy.
Exactly.
I turned the heat up for you.
Yeah, I mean,
special day.
Practically
special
roasting
day.
in here.
Yeah, well, I just, I try to keep the talent happy.
Yeah. So Lydia is sitting here in a T-shirt. I'm in the heaviest sweatshirt I own, by the way. One that's usually too hot for indoors, and I just went on a limb and figured I'd be fine.
Well, listen, I did. It's in this. I think it's like 69 in the house.
Wow.
I was like, he came downstairs. Tim can attest.
You didn't even
to
think
this.
your thermometer went that high.
No, I
Said,
didn't.
Did you?
I thought
it
I was
just
like,
stopped at 67, like it
Oof.
just breaks.
Yeah, I thought it was like it's really shaking.
Yeah,
it was shaking that needle. No, I came downstairs and I was like, it is hot in this house. And Tim's like, well, Matt's coming. And I was like, okay.
Fair point.
Fair. Yeah. And so now you're right. I'm in a T-shirt and you're in a
very heavy.
This
sweatshirt literally is, I'm essentially in a sweatsuit. Not matching.
No, of course.
Awkward. Yeah, of course. But no, this sweatshirt usually is too heavy for indoors.
Well, but
hey,
you've had a banner morning, I think.
Yeah. Hey, started the morning with lemon meringue pie, homemade by Lydia.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Good curd on that.
Epic. The curd was strong. The meringue is strong in this one. Yeah, no, it was awesome.
Good.
So it was a great way to start just a normal
coffee and lemon meringue pie on a Saturday.
Just a great way to start
morning.
A normal Saturday.
A normal, just everyday, ordinary.
Very
kind
uneventful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, but it's great to I don't love the weather here in Mountain Maryland. It is
the sun's out.
The sun's out, but it is brisk. Yeah, bracing.
Mm-hmm.
But no, daughter is back from college, first semester in the books. So
Good.
She will be heading back next semester as a sophomore, though, because of the credits she brought in.
Nice.
Sounds like a very good first semester academically, socially, all that jazz. So
we knew she
much
would
to be thankful
knock
for.
it out of the park. Yeah. How was your Thanksgiving? Speaking of thankful,
Thanksgiving was very good. Again, much to be thankful for.
Mm-hmm.
So spent some time with family and friends.
Stuffing balls a hit.
Stuffing balls, it still had some. It was a little dicey on the cook. I was having trouble getting them to really form up.
Okay.
Even though I let them set overnight.
Yeah, we talked about that
in the big
method.
container. I let them set overnight before I started balling them up. I had a lot of egg in there, and I just it was a struggle. But they eventually came together. But it was getting dicey at a point in time.
Interesting.
I was getting frustrated, not at anyone but myself, but I just couldn't figure out what the hell was going on.
Do you put like breadcrumbs in there, or like bread?
They are.
It is bread.
It's the bread.
Yeah.
So it's bread. You put in whatever stock of your choice.
Yeah.
Eggs. Essentially, that's what put in
that's
the seasonings.
The binder,
and then you had. I had sautéed for a long time a lot of onions and a lot of celery, but they went in and then cooled in it. So that's where I was. Yeah, but I had to. And again, it's not like you're going to dump flour into it to hold it together.
But you can do.
What's that?
Matzah meal.
Put a Jewish
spin on it. But I'm telling you,
Jew-adjacent spin.
The matzah ball, the matzah meal is basically just like
binder. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a binder, and it's really great.
That's it. See, there you go. It'll really be a Jew-adjacent Thanksgiving.
There you go. I can send you home with some.
I'm inching closer and closer.
You're almost there.
I know.
Well, you're almost part of the tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, matzah meal, for anybody listening, is just basically pulverized matzah crackers. Right. And it's a great little binder that you put. It's kind of like breadcrumbs, but it's not as
maybe we'll have to do like a tester with those.
I think we should try it out. Yeah.
Because I could make the stuffing balls. I would just use vegetarian stock.
Yeah, veggie stock.
Because everything else is veggie friendly.
Veggie adjacent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's talk about the craziest news headline I think that you and I have experienced in the which we never thought would happen, by the way, because you and I think that Juan Soto is.
I think he's an excellent hitter.
Yeah. I
think he has one of the best eyes in modern day baseball of knowing the strike zone.
Yep.
But I think he's a designated hitter. I think at allegedly 26 years old, I think his defense is already subpar. There's some. And he was a Gold Glove finalist. There have been some things on Twitter, like some of his best plays. Man, he misplayed a lot of baseballs in right field. And by the way, Yankee Stadium is not a tough right field to play. It's a short porch.
Yep.
There's no weird angles. Comparison, Camden Yards.
Yep.
You have the wall. Boston, you have Pesky's pole, the short fence. And it juts way out.
Yeah.
there are a lot of places where there's some, it can be very difficult rights or lefts or centers to play.
Yeah.
Yankee Stadium is not a hard right field to play,
Nope.
and he, and so I think he's an elite hitter. But how much do you pay an elite hitter? That's a question for Steve Cohen.
Listen, I think Steve Cohen needs his head examined. The Mets, he's agreed to pay Juan Soto $765 million over the next 15 years. He's allegedly 26 years old.
No deferred comp.
No deferred comp, so it's not like Ohtani's contract. And this is the only contract of its kind so far. And he gets a signing bonus of $75 million. His deal includes a full no trade clause, meaning he would need to approve any deal that he sees him shipped elsewhere for the third time in his career. Soto also gets to wear number 22 with the Mets, a number previously belonging to third baseman.
All right.
And a luxury suite for home games.
There you go.
So, my thing is we're paying you a lot of money.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you buy your own luxury suite?
I guess.
And that apparently the luxury suite was a real sticking point for him with the Yankees.
For the Steinbrenner.
Yeah.
Mafia.
Yeah. Pretty much. The Steinbrenners are like, nope.
Listen,
no luxury box.
I think for the Yankees, not getting him was a good thing.
Listen, he has to have a physical before this is totally all said and done. And that's fine. But, you're right. It's 15 years. He's a DH in less than 5, probably.
But he's not like a tree. We can't carbon date him. Because I don't think he's 26.
A dental record.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying is you can't carbon date. No, we're saying he's 26. Matt and I are thinking that that's a little bit hazy on the details.
Skeptical.
We're skeptical. He's 26 years old. My thing is, even if he is 26 years old, he's on the way, father time.
So you're baseball. Where you go down is at 30, 31 is when you start to trend downward. I even thought the Yankees deal with Judge, even though he's really played well the last couple of years. He was 31 when he signed the deal, 10-year deal. The back end of that deal is not going to look great.
Right. The back end of this deal is not going to look good either. And my thing is, he's a really good hitter for now.
Right.
But what if he gets the yips? That's a very expensive yip.
Yeah.
It's
like the best kicker in football when he gets the yips.
Oh,
It's called Justin Tucker that we're going to talk about. But so it was Soto. What did you say about the hot stove before we started?
Oh, I think it's got a gas leak.
Yeah,
because they're paying this guy way too much money. He's not even worth it.
God. I think, but I think for the Yankees,
stuck his head in the oven.
I think for the Yankees, it is a good thing
Mm.
because here's the real rub for the Yankees. They have to move Aaron Judge out of center field. He was a right fielder when he came up with the Yankees. The only reason he was playing center field is because they signed Juan Soto, and we clearly know you can't let Soto play center field. I'm not saying Judge has played an inadequate center field, but he is not an elite defender.
No.
He's got a very big arm, okay? I'm not taking anything away from his arm, but he's too big to cover that much real estate. Again, he's a very good athlete. He did an adequate job. But I think for the Yankees, it's much better to move Judge to right, get a true center fielder.
No, I think it's better for their roster for sure. And
then, of course, they also signed Max Fried, so the Yankees are going to send out an elite rotation. That's sort of what they're
hoping for. Anyway.
But by the way, in the Yankees, it's not like they could have made Soto DH because they have one of the other worst contracts in baseball with Giancarlo Stanton.
Oh my God.
Who literally is station to station Stanton. I
know.
That guy.
He's just collecting a paycheck and rolling.
He can still hit, but man, he cannot run the bases. It's like Albert Pujols at the end kind of running bases, man. It is like
it's a slow wave rolling through.
When it's a double, that ball is stuck somewhere.
It's like wedged in the
Stanton
fence.
gets 3 types of hits. He gets 4. He gets hit by pitch.
Yeah.
He walks.
Mm-hmm.
This is how he gets on base. Hit by pitch, walked, single, home run. That's it. There ain't no doubles and triples in there.
No. Because you got to move on those.
Yeah, and
it's not happening.
Yeah, he just doesn't have the wheels for it. So with Soto,
also that frees up a lot of money for them to make.
It does.
Some good.
And that's why we saw him go out and sign Max Fried.
Yeah.
I think he's only the second left-hander to ever contracted in excess of $200 million.
Good.
So, from the Braves. So, they're going to have he and Cole 1-2.
Mm-hmm.
They have Gil. Yankees are going to be a formidable starting lineup with the pitchers.
Yeah. The O's. They signed Tyler O'Neill and
it sounds like
Gary
they're going
Sánchez.
Yep, the Sanchez is going to be the backup catcher.
Yeah.
It sounds like so that means what it probably does mean is so long Tony Taters.
Yeah.
Anthony Santander will unlikely be back in Baltimore.
Yeah, but they're really like hoping.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like, we really don't want to lose Santander.
But I think the Orioles, and we touched on it before we started, it sounds like the Orioles are still in the running with Corbin Burns. They have not decided.
They haven't decided.
But the Red Sox
have thrown their hat in the ring and are offering him $218.5 million. Right. And they also signed the lefty White Sox pitcher Crockett.
They made a trade for him.
They made a trade for him. $250, I believe, is what they did for him. But honestly, I think that the Red Sox need to invest in their pitching. We've known this for a long time. I've known this for a long time, and so maybe I'm happy that they're making moves to do that because they just haven't had the arms to support, and it's just like. It's not all about pitching like it used to be, but it's still a very integral part of what you need. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, maybe you don't want your starters going out 7, 8, 9, but you need somebody to go 6 solid.
Exactly. Yeah. And so you're just like, you guys, they did not have the stamina that you needed.
But, it's still, I think the Orioles and Red Sox are still probably both happy that Juan Soto is out of the American League East. That's definitely an advantage for those guys, even with the Yankees, bolstering their pitching.
Yeah.
And what it does is it takes a lot of protection away from Aaron Judge in the lineup, and it makes it when Soto was hitting Soto's hitting in front of Judge, Soto got a lot of great pitches because people don't want to put a guy on base to face Aaron Judge, and of course Soto makes you throw strikes, which is what he does. So it'll be interesting to see Judge without that protection, because if I'm pitching against the Yankees and if it's just Judge and Stanton. I am happy to take my chances with Giancarlo Stanton.
Exactly.
I just am. And again, he can be he was, we saw him get very hot in the playoffs. Again, Giancarlo Stanton can carry you in a series, but I still think you would take your chances pitching to him instead of Aaron Judge. Right. And without Soto in that lineup, it's going to look a little different.
I'm happy that Soto got his bag of money. Yeah. I just don't think I don't think it matches the level of talent.
Hey,
that's okay. We're not the one footing the bill.
I'm not going to talk about a man and his money, but
especially
if I'm not paying it, hey, good for you, man.
Good for you. Get your bag. But honestly, you and I both, I could not believe that.
That's
found
that 3/4 of a Billy.
I know. I found it late. They announced it late.
Yeah.
I couldn't text you. Actually,
yes.
You know what I did do? I scheduled that text.
Nice.
And I sent it to you at a reasonable hour for you.
For me.
Yeah.
Which is anything after 5 a.m.
Yeah, I sent it at 8.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't think I was even out of bed yet. But
I was oh, my day had been rolling.
Right. You were like...
day's halfway over. Exactly. The day's halfway over.
It's 8 a.m. Here, Juan Soto, what is going on? But yeah, so it was just like... that got me pretty fired up for the last week.
I think everybody likes the hot stove, hot stove. So by the way, we're talking about Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
How was your Thanksgiving?
29 and a hook.
I know.
It was great. Wee Willie's first Thanksgiving. We were super happy to have him here. He was, passed around and loved up on, eventually fell asleep on somebody's chest. It was great. Had no issues. Everybody had a great time. Tim's whole family was here.
How was the sweet potato pudding?
Sweet potato pudding was a hit. We had, I think, the most food we have ever had at a Thanksgiving. Nice. So far, we had some delicious stuff, and everybody brought their A game. It was spectacular. So yeah.
And we're seeing improvements on Podcast Hill downstairs, man.
Oh my God, the kitchen in Podcast Hill has elevated itself. Yeah. I've got cabinet doors on all the cabinets after 5 years.
Finishing in the on the sunlight skylights.
Yeah. So, putting in extension jams there. We got a new hood, which is let me tell you something. If you're shopping for a range hood, just an FYI for those who are listening and care.
Yeah.
When you look for a range hood, you need to make sure that the hood itself, the mechanism that is sucking the cooking fumes out of your house, is actually the width of your range.
That makes sense.
Not, however, the range hood with glass, because the glass is then incorporated into the entire width of the range.
Things you learn.
Things you learn when you are why, when every time we cook something or a cast iron heats up, am I smoking out the house? It's because we have a 36-inch range and a 17-inch actual mechanism hood with the extensions on either side, which are glass, that have nothing to do with the actual...
part of the decor.
Right.
The ambiance.
So we quickly moved that along and got ourselves a nice
looks sharp.
range and a hood, and it's great.
Things are shaping up nicely here in Podcast Hill.
The Lacas are going to be like a breeze this
I know
year.
that's coming up. It's like 2 weeks?
2 weeks. Yeah. We're making our spanakopita situation.
Yeah, we have a Hanukkah party here.
27th.
Podcast Hill.
Podcast Hill, yeah. If you know, you know.
Yeah, and if you don't know, now you know. But
now you know.
You're still at an undisclosed location.
That's true. It's very true.
So don't come. You're
don't
not
come
unless you're invited. You're not invited.
Unless it comes from my mouth. Yeah. You know.
From Lydia's lips to God's ears.
There you
go.
Or
your ears. It means you could come to celebrate. Oil burning longer than planned on.
Yeah, somebody put out. It's one of those things. It's like, okay, how do you convey the miracle of Hanukkah in present day? And so there's a couple. One is, your cell phone is on 1%.
And it stays on.
But it stays on for 8 days.
Yeah,
which I thought was pretty good.
That's a good one. That is a very modern day way to equate the miracle of Hanukkah.
That's it.
I like that. I'm going with that one.
That's a good one, I thought. And the other one was like a hybrid that you don't have to change the oil or something. Or, know.
Yeah, that one's lost.
That one's not great. It was a New Yorker one.
Yeah.
Nah. 2 out of 10 stars on that New Yorker.
But the cell phone one, man,
is a pretty good one. I think
that's solid.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. So just so you know, 59 days until pitchers and catchers report, and all will be right with the world.
Yeah, correct. Mm-hmm. And that's always exciting. But I mean, I think every baseball fan loves when the hot stove really gets going, and everyone knew it was going to get going at the owners' meeting. Yeah, and of course the big domino, they needed Soto to fall.
They did.
And Scott Boris. Borsik's a friend of mine, so I shout out Scott Borsick. Scott Boris, super agent. As looked like he had lost a little of his luster last year, was not happy with some of the contracts. Yeah. And certainly looks like he has redeemed himself in a very big way with Juan Soto, and has Corbin Burns as well. So coming, so he's going to be a big year for the Boris agency group. Mm-hmm. So very exciting.
Good for them.
Yeah.
So college football, we've got some.
The playoffs are set.
And I don't think there's no surprises there.
Yeah. I mean, your Buckeyes backed in.
Yeah, well, listen,
4 years, man. It is going to be another cold and long winter.
I know.
In Columbus.
I know.
It was the Michigan men, man. That was tough. I mean, I tell you, as someone who's not a fan of either team, I thought Michigan just beat them up. I thought Michigan came down and beat them up.
They did. And here's the thing.
Lydia, by the way, in case you've forgotten, is a Buckeye fan.
I am a Buckeye fan. It's in the blood.
Yeah.
My IO. Yeah. My mom's from Columbus, born and raised. My uncle dotted the I.
It's a very big deal.
Is with the sousaphone and the Ohio State band. It runs deep. So my thing is, look, if you're gonna be the coach for the Buckeyes, you have to beat Michigan. That is that's it. The brief is that simple. Beat Michigan. You can have an okay year, and as long as you beat Michigan, all is right with the world. And this dude has not beat Michigan.
This guy's had great years, but cannot 1-4.
So the only thing you have to do is beat the damn Wolverines, and you can't do it.
He's 1-4 against the Maize and Blue. And then, quite frankly, after the game, I thought Ryan Day was very disengaged with what was going on the field. As for those of you who didn't see it or saw it, after the game, that team up north had the Michigan flag out. And was prepared to plant it at the 50-yard line.
Let me tell you something.
To dot the I. With the
I get that. And here's the thing. Michigan, for this rivalry, has always been respectful at the Horseshoe. Right. Okay? And, they've won there. They've lost there in both places, And listen, they took it too far. I'm just saying, They've... years of this long-standing rivalry, we've never had the gall of this Michigan team to come and say oh, this is an appropriate thing to do. And it was not an appropriate thing to do.
They're the champions of the West, though.
Yeah, well, for the time being, but that's not going to last. My point is look, you got to win. That's fine. Be gracious with your win and roll out of there, and don't do something stupid like that.
Or you need to learn how to lose. As the Michigan players said, that suggested that the Buckeyes had 60 minutes to fight on the field, and
this is true.
They chose not to.
But I don't understand the whole planting of the flag.
No,
I just don't. I think it was a step too far, and it's definitely unsportsmanlike conduct.
Didn't Ohio State though 1 year tear down the sign at Michigan that that they hold up with they all jump up and touch? I thought they tore that down one time at the beginning of the game.
I'm familiar with that.
Okay, I just thought that happened. So
I don't know. It could have happened.
So,
but a sign.
Right.
Okay, fine. On the field though.
So let me ask you this: will Ryan Day be the head coach of the Ohio State University Buckeyes in 2025?
Listen, if it were up to me, no, but it's not up to me, unfortunately. And they're really talking seriously. They're saying, they're coming out being like, nope, Day is back in 2025. We're really secure with this, blah, blah, blah. That's the news reports right now. So I don't know if they just don't want to spook players from going into the portal or what.
I mean,
there's
2 coaches that are floating around with ties.
Yeah.
One would be Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
Who did he ever lose to Michigan, or if he did, maybe once? But I don't think he ever lost. Or maybe,
but I don't think he did.
But then the other is former Buckeye alumni, longtime NFL coach, former Patriot world champion Mike Vrabel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does not have a job this year. Now, most people think he will be a very hot NFL coaching commodity.
Yep.
In the offseason, but Mike Vrabel right there is.
I mean, I would listen. Anything
his ties run deep to the Buckeyes.
I know
he's a Buckeye.
You sent
number 50 in your program.
That's right.
Number 1 in your heart. Yeah.
But you sent me a text and you're like, I think Ryan Day should put his house on the market. I said, I think you're exactly right, because you can't. That there's something, and there is no reason to this. There's no rhyme or reason. You could have a winning season and lose to Michigan. You still feel like you've lost.
Let me suggest another name out there that I think is going to be an extraordinarily hot coaching commodity.
Yeah.
Right now, he has a college coaching job.
Yes, this is my dream.
He coaches. Is this your guys? He coaches in Colorado. See, I'm thinking that guy. I'm thinking there's a guy that coaches in Colorado.
We're thinking of 2 different guys.
Could you imagine? I mean, Coach Prime brings his talents to Columbus. I mean, think about the buzz, the hype. They already get these premium talent there.
But Coach Prime is staying in Colorado.
He says he's staying in Colorado. Now, unless, let me throw this out there, and you're an NFL team with an early draft pick, you bring Shedeur Sanders in to play quarterback, bring Coach Prime in to coach them.
That would be
it's been a good combination at Jackson State. It was a good combination at Colorado.
Yeah.
I mean, brought both of those programs from irrelevance to prominence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying.
No, I'm not saying.
Who's your guy? So who was
Notre Dame head coach?
Oh yeah, you want to cherry pick from the Irish.
I do. They're doing really
Marcus
well.
Freeman, also a former Buckeye, another Buckeye linebacker, as is Mike Vrabel.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
I mean, that would be amazing.
Marcus Freeman's got the Irish on the march. Big game coming up here next Friday night.
Yes.
In the unfriendly confines of Notre Dame Stadium in South Bend, Indiana. They will be hosting in-state rival and upstart Indiana University.
Indiana University.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not doing so bad.
Little brother's going to understand who rules Indiana.
Oh my God, I know.
But no, I think that's an exciting game.
That is going to be an exciting game.
The college playoffs, I think the exciting part is that first round, those home games on campuses.
Yes, because it gets everybody's usually home at this point. It keeps people coming back. It keeps people engaged, and it is a good time. It's a feel good situation.
Your Buckeyes will be hosting at the Horseshoe, University of Tennessee.
Yes.
So that'll be an interesting matchup.
It should be a good matchup. I just want a good game.
Texas is going to host Clemson.
Yeah.
So there's some
good games going on.
Definitely some good games going on.
So we're talking about coaching, so I think we should touch on this. West Virginia's got Rich Rodriguez is back.
Country Roads have led Rich Rod back after 17 years.
17 years, he said, and I quote, he made the biggest mistake by leaving West Virginia for Michigan. As it is a mistake 17 years ago. So there's thousands of fans who attended the introductory news. This is happened yesterday.
Pat McAfee hosted a show from Morgantown. Pat McAfee,
he
for those of you who don't realize that, is a former West Virginia football player. That's where he was a punter and kicker for the Mountaineers.
Yeah.
So shout out to the Pat McAfee show. If they need us to bring our talents, we're
we
here.
Totally would do that for sure, for free.
Exactly.
Just for the exposure.
Yeah, exactly.
The experience. No, Rodriguez carries some baggage. We all know this. He had 3 years at Michigan where he was fired after the 2010 season where he had some NCAA violations.
But now, in his violations were like practicing too long. It wasn't nobody was getting paid.
No, it was exceeding limits on practice and training time at college football's winningest program.
But I would say,
and then he was fired
for a
former administrative assistant claims
sexual harassment, which was ultimately the case was dismissed.
I'm just saying he doesn't come with. He's not clean.
He is not clean,
right? But you know who.
But you know the question is, you know, there's an adage. A lot of people know it. You know, maybe it comes from the Bible, maybe it doesn't. It says, you know, you can't come home again. You know, the prodigal son.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm happy he's back, but
his return.
I hope he's learned his lesson.
His return to the Mountain State.
Yeah.
The fans in West
Wild and wonderful, baby.
So listen, and I know they said, look, he dominated when he was there, but he was the Big East, this and that.
Yeah.
Look, I think Rich Rodriguez will win football games at WVU.
I 100% agree with you.
I think he's a unique offensive football mind. I am of the mindset that Rich Rodriguez had is that I thought Michigan pulled the pin on him too fast.
Yeah.
Because Rich Rod said, man, I got to get players that run and do my system. Now, it will be much easier for Rich Rod to do that fast at WVU because of the portal.
Yeah. I think
that didn't exist when he was at Michigan. Again, the spread offense, for those of you, I call it the read option, the read handoff, quarterback out of shotgun, running back in the sidecar, where that quarterback is faking or giving it to the running back, running it himself, or throwing it. That comes from Rich Rodriguez. Yeah. He is the man who thought that up at Glenville State, then took it to Clemson as an assistant coach, and then took it to Country Roads, led him home to West Virginia. So, look, I think Rich Rod will win football games.
I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see for the fans. But
he's the second most noteworthy hire this week in college football.
Yeah, this is the second.
The second most noteworthy.
Let me tell you something. The biggest news.
A very big news out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Yeah, Bill Belichick has signed with UNC to have a fresh start in college football. He's going to get $10 million as his annual salary. He's going to enter into the college arena for the first time. He's never coached in college. No. My thing,
his father Steve was a longtime college coach.
Yes,
he was an assistant, including
maybe
and also at UNC.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, when Bill Belichick was 2, his dad was coach. Now, allegedly, the rumor is that his first words were "beat Duke." Whether they were,
that we like that. Yeah, we're all for that. So he has complete control over how the funding of the program is allocated, which is one of the sticking points with him in the Pats is like he really wanted to be able to control the money,
right?
To get the players he needed and everything else. I think because he has this mindset coming from the NFL into college, and college has totally changed in the last 4 or 5 years with the portal. This is much like drafting and everything else and making sure your budget's aligned and getting the right players into the right spaces. And he's well known for taking players that maybe were really great at one position and changing and making sure that they're getting the best.
Right.
He can basically take players and turn them into excellent ball players and coaching them the right way and making sure. And he can have any type of coach he wants. He can hire. So he's has complete control over this program, which is unheard of.
And it's a program, though, that has lots of money.
Yes. It's like $250.5 million.
And they have a lot of well-heeled boosters. You know, it's always been seen as a underutilized, underperforming program for the resources that it has.
Yep.
You know, you can certainly imagine his airness standing on the sidelines in the near, not too distant future.
Yeah. I just also think the portal, if you have the chance to be coached by Belichick, you're going to do it.
Yeah, I think that, but then I do wonder, Bill Belichick, his recruiting and doing that.
Well, he's going to hire people to do that.
Yeah, because, look, do I think Bill Belichick can coach these kids, young guys? Absolutely. I think
there's not much difference between the rookies coming in.
But I guess, though, the difference is in the NFL. I mean, look, they do something stupid, you just fire them. It's their job. You're getting some of these kids at 17, 18 years old, and there is a parental role to be played.
Well, you know.
And look, I think Bill Belichick will be – I could see that being slightly frustrating for Bill Belichick. But I think Bill Belichick – look, he's also a father. He's got, I think, 3 kids. He knows how to be a parent. but like I said, do I think he can X and O these guys? Absolutely. Do I think he can? Will it make it a destination? I think it will. I just think of I can't imagine Bill Belichick wanting to be on the recruiting trail.
No, I don't think.
I think it's where Bill Belichick walks in, and, and has 8 Super Bowl rings. 6 as a head coach, 2 as an assistant, and has both hands covered in rings, and said, "Look, if you want to know what it takes to get to the next level, I'm here to coach you."
Well, that's the thing, and I think also he'll probably have a recruiting team that goes out, and if there's somebody that's on the fence, they send Bill Belichick in and talk to the guy. It's a phone call.
Yeah.
And I think that because the landscape of college football is more leaning towards the landscape of the NFL.
It'll help him.
It's totally going to help him. And this is also not the first time an NFL coach has gone to college to coach and then maybe come back to the NFL or whatever. My thing is Belichick is, never done this before, but I think a coach is a coach and he's going to take an opportunity whenever he can. And I don't think that he was really a talking head, for games or doing analysis or stuff like that. So I think he wants to be a coach. And so if he's getting an opportunity to coach, he's going to take it. Yeah. Whatever Tom Brady has to say about it.
Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting.
I'm excited to see it.
It's going to make a big splash in college football.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited. I think I like a nice little shakeup.
Yeah.
Let's switch to the NFL. We got Ty Johnson's Bills. They lost to the Rams, but Ty, 41-yard touchdown.
Longest of his career.
Amazing.
I think is that touchdown number 14?
I think 14 or something.
Yeah, and I think 4th
like
this year.
Yeah.
Ty's had a solid career. He's having a nice year with the Bills. I think the Bills are going to be there all year long.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got the Bills and the Chiefs for sure in the AFC.
Yeah.
The Steelers have, I think, overperformed. I think Mike Tomlin, in my mind, is easily the NFL Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
I know Dan Campbell got 11-1 Lions.
Yeah.
I'm not taking anything away from Dan Campbell.
I'm
just saying,
yeah.
Everybody knew the Lions were going to be good this year.
Yeah, and they've had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, there was a lot of doubting. I think Mike, and the fact that Mike Tomlin has never won the NFL Coach of the Year was shocking to me for a guy who's
really
his 17th season and has never
won.
No, and he's never had a losing season.
That's amazing.
Yes,
that's crazy.
He's never had a sub 500 record in the NFL.
Wow.
He's been to 2 Super Bowls, won
Give
one.
him the award. My God. I think he's earned it.
And then obviously with the Ravens, the Ravens are 8-5. I do think they still have the most dynamic player in the NFL.
Yeah.
But they've had kicking woes, and
and
Baltimore,
you were at that game.
I was at the day after Sunday after Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Great day. Bunch of folks from Cumberland down there. Got to meet up with some friends. We all had a great time until the game started. Even when the game started, it was good.
Yeah.
The Ravens jumped up 9-0.
Yeah, I was going to say
a missed extra point, and you could feel the tension just build astronomically.
Yeah.
And then every time, when Justin Tucker, as a Ravens fan, used to come out.
You mean you were for
the field goal? That's when you would start okay, I'm going to run to the bathroom now. Because that's his 3. That's done.
Yeah, it's done.
I'm going to get on the beer line or whatever.
Yeah.
You go before the score, not after the score, because Tucker was just automatic.
Yeah.
He was like REM. Automatic for the people.
Mm-hmm.
But and Justin Tucker, it's not the leg. He's got plenty of power.
Yeah.
The ball is leaking left, and they cannot seem to answer it. I don't know what.
Have an ankle injury or something?
I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see.
It's probably a hip.
About sending him out there, and he is 35. And again,
is that the magic age?
For kickers, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
You have some kickers that'll kick. Adam Vinatieri. Grace, he had gray hair. Remember, he had
that's true.
He had more gray hair than I do right now. And he was still, still piping it.
Still kicking.
Now he wasn't the long range guy. Tucker ushered in the era that we have in the NFL now, where look, man, if your kicker can't make it from 55 and in, he got to find a new kicker.
Right.
Okay. Justin Tucker, he was kicking kicks that no one else was, and we've seen that now. Everybody in the NFL is.
You have to.
If your kicker can't make it from 54, 55, sort of routinely, he's no good to you. And essentially, you got guys got to be ready to potentially give you a chance from 60 in.
Yes.
Chris Boswell at the Steelers having a great year. They beat the Ravens with only 6 Boswell field goals. Those guys just, you got to be able to pump that ball in from long range.
Tucker's got to figure out what psychological block there is, because there's definitely something there. Because most kickers can miss, come back out and be like, all right, I know I did this. I got to readjust, but it doesn't seem like Tucker can readjust. It seems that he just is doing the same kick over and over again. He's just kind of stuck. Yeah. And the fact that you had, he was in the 20-yard line and he missed. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. Well, Philly had a great game. Jalen, let's talk about Saquon Barkley for 2 seconds.
Saquon,
you got to see him live.
I did.
How was that?
The Ravens actually had him bottled up most of the game. He broke a big win in the fourth quarter, which sent us scurrying to the car. Look, I mean, you saw the NFL's two premier running backs that game.
Yep.
And actually, both were relatively quiet.
They were.
Most of the game. Again, Saquon went over 100 because he broke one at the end, not taking anything away from him.
No.
Look, Saquon is having an all-time NFL great caliber year for a running back. Look, Eric Dickerson has the single-season record. I went to every Ravens game when Jamal Lewis tried to chase that down and came very close, within about 50, 60 yards doing it. It's a big number. Now, Saquon gets an extra game that Dickerson didn't have. Look, Saquon, what it shows to you is how inept the Giants were his whole time there with no quarterback play, bad offensive line. You go to the Eagles, who have maybe the best offensive line in football consistently. And it's just made all the difference. You have true threats on the outside. Hurts can get the ball out there.
Yeah.
So, Saquon, great for him. I think we're realizing the greatness of Saquon Barkley that was, quite frankly, being wasted.
It was. Yeah. Absolutely.
Which is unfortunate, that just especially running backs with a short span, career lifespan.
Yeah, and my thing is, you've got to, and so Saquon isn't the only one that's that way. And I think that, even Ty was with, he got bumped around a few times, and then he finally found a good spot in Buffalo.
Yeah, you got to find the right place for you, and especially into running back. It's not. Yeah. They're not plug and play.
No.
You got to find guys that run to the right for your system. So it's it just depends, and I think he's found the right system, a team that wants to run the ball. Yeah. Because look, I think Jalen Hurts, much like Lamar Jackson. He's at his best when he's throwing 25 times or less.
Yes.
Because, look, he has the ability, we know, to run the ball, much like Lamar Jackson. He has the ability to throw the ball. I'm not taking anything away from that any more than I am Lamar. But those are teams like the Philly, the Eagles, and the Ravens want to be balanced. They want to run the ball. They want to be physical. Yeah. Those teams like to be physical. And I think it's just a perfect match with Saquon. I mean, I think Lane Johnson, one of the all-time great right tackles in the NFL history, for the Eagles, just a dominant right tackle, which, you always talk about left tackles. Lane Johnson is, all-time great in the modern era at right tackle.
Yeah.
And it just sets up well with the Eagles. They like to be physical, strong at the point of attack. And it's been a perfect match. And that's why the Eagles are, 10-2, I think?
Yes, they are 10-2.
9 straight.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're right behind the Lions.
Yeah,
I mean, they're one game back from the Lions, which that game was really good. And the Lions are hurting. They've got a lot of guys out.
Listen, the Lions, again, I mentioned him early, Dan Campbell, what a great job. A lot of people thought he was like a meathead or something. Man, he's brought that toughness, that grit. You talk about a city that likes grit. Man, Detroit likes grit.
Absolutely.
They like guys that are tough. I think my buddy Nate Price and I were talking about a trade that worked out well for both teams. Matt Stafford and Jared Goff, right?
Yeah.
Places they swapped, and the Lions also got some extra first-round picks on that.
Exactly.
Lions have hit on that. But, hey, Matt Stafford won a world championship with the Rams. By the way, the Rams, I think, have won, 7 straight or 8 of 9?
Yeah.
They started 1-4, and, they're playing. Their Rams are going to win the NFC West. Boy genius Sean McVay did a great job. So it's the NFL's the NFL.
And
it's going to be exciting.
It's going to be good.
I think the NFC, I think we've covered it. It's those two teams. It's the Lions and the Eagles.
It's the Lions and the Eagles.
If you said to me Lions and Eagles versus the field, I'll take the Lions or the Eagles.
Yeah, sure.
But I think it's there clearly I think the NFC is clearer than the AFC because hey, you look like the Chiefs. The Chiefs haven't looked great, but they keep winning.
I know. Barely.
The Bills sometimes look great. Don't forget Baltimore ran them out of this. Didn't just beat them. They dropped a speedboat on them.
Yeah, they did.
But the Ravens kicking woes. The Steelers not explosive offensively,
no, they're not.
but they just find ways to win.
Well, the Eagles play Pittsburgh this weekend.
Yeah, marquee matchup in the NFL. This is that game for sure.
Commanders take on the Saints, which should be interesting because Daniels is a former LSU player. So
yeah,
that should be fun.
And also the Predator, Chase Young, who was the number 2 overall pick, got traded. He's playing for them.
Yeah,
plays for the Saints now. Former Commander. Marshawn Lattimore, who was traded from the Saints in the middle of the year, has been out with injury. He's going to play his first game.
That's great.
It'll be interesting to see what happens.
We also have a local situation we need to talk about. Fort Hill won again.
So we have 2 local situations to talk about.
Oh, yeah?
Fort Hill won another state championship. I think it was their 10th overall.
Yep. Congratulations, Coach Alkire.
And then shout out to my friend Kevin Whiteman, Frankfurt Falcons. First ever state championship.
Wonderful.
Over Roane County last night in Charleston. First one ever in Frankfurt high school football history.
Awesome.
Nearly 50 years in the making, and so it's
mazel tov to
absolutely.
the Frankfurt Falcons.
So
solid Mineral County.
Yeah,
team.
exactly.
Yeah,
but no, it's Frankfurt maybe their best team of all time. Ran the table undefeated. Fort Hill, overcame some adversity. They lost a couple games on the field, had to forfeit 5 more for an ineligible player. Had to play a lot of games on the road this year in the playoffs. Every game on the road. I mean, obviously the first game was against Allegheny, so it wasn't really a road game for them. But they've been on the road ever since. A very resilient bunch. So shout out to my buddy Nash Castle, who's a quarterback. Nash is a great kid, great guy. And led Fort Hill to another championship.
That's amazing.
So great on the local scene.
Yeah. So F1. Let's talk F1.
Let's get. I can just start saying names. Max Verstappen.
Yeah, that's right. Well, actually, so F1 finished for the year.
Yep.
So this is a big year. So you're right. Max Verstappen won another title this year. He was the driver. However, Red Bull did not win the Constructors' Cup as predicted this year, instead coming in 3rd place overall, with McLaren taking the win and Ferrari coming in a close 2nd. Looking at 2025, the grid is shaking up with Hamilton driving for Ferrari and leaving Mercedes, a move no one ever thought would happen. Sergio Perez, who is the 2nd driver for Red Bull, which is the reason that Red Bull most likely did not win the Constructors' Cup, because he did not get on the podium, might be stepping down from Red Bull team, with 2 younger drivers set up to take over potentially, because they like homegrown talent from their secondary Red Bull team, AlphaTauri. So 2025 should be an interesting year, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it all shakes out.
Me too.
Yeah, I knew you would be. I
knew
you would be.
Edge of the seat. No,
yeah.
It like when you do watch, it's like, man, here's my only takeaway from F1, which I am just totally amazed by. It'll be pouring down rain and they keep racing.
Yeah, they change tires.
Yeah, they change. I know. I understand that, but I don't get it.
There's no windshield wipers.
And they'll have the camera, and you'll see, like, you can't see anything. No. Like, you see nothing.
Drivers hate driving in the rain for obvious reasons.
People hate driving in the rain in town. And nobody likes driving it. Like,
I know.
That's like when you say somebody hates driving in the rain, that's like saying, I hate shots. I'm always like, what kind of sadist wants to get, like, hey, Doc, can I get an extra vaccine? Hey, thanks, Bobby Kennedy Jr. Won't need those anymore.
Oh, my God.
But no, but I'm saying, like, nobody likes shots. Nobody likes driving in the rain.
No, I mean, but my
driving at the rain at 200 miles an hour just seems
tight corners.
Insane, yeah.
Yeah, hairpin turns. Yeah, so it's, yes, and there is extraordinary. But here's the other thing you have to understand. Yes, us driving in the rain, these drivers know these tracks in and out. So when they have their eyes closed, they know which corners, they know how long it goes. They really memorize the tracks. But not that really helps if you're sliding and you're something malfunctions on the car, because you have to understand. Yes, you're driving in the rain. It's fine. Sometimes they'll delay if they can, and they'll really watch that. If they can say, hey, we're going to delay the race by an hour, and it'll come through and go out, but they'll still have to wait, depending on how wet the road is, they might have to.
They might have to go to the intermediate tire. See?
Correct. See,
there you go.
Good. Yeah. But yeah, so, I mean, no, driving in the rain is very difficult. Also, driving in the heat. They do a lot of things in like Abu Dhabi, so it's hot, and they lose a lot of body weight when they're driving, and so... it's, yes.
I think even when it's not scorching hot out, those guys still lose a lot of body weight during those races. It's very hot in those cars.
It's very hot in the cars.
They're in understandably fire retardant suits. These things aren't meant to breathe.
No, and then they're in like these very nice, well-constructed cages now.
Yeah.
I mean, F1 is significantly safer than it has been in the last, for the entire history, as everything kind of evolves and, safety is at the forefront for these drivers. But it should be pretty interesting 2025. It's gonna be weird seeing Hamilton in Ferrari red. I'm not gonna lie.
It is a wildly popular sport around the world.
Yeah.
It definitely has a niche popularity in the United States, but it is wildly popular the world over.
Yeah, I mean,
very big in Europe.
There's
the Middle
two.
East.
I think there's three F1 races in the U.S. now with Las Vegas. So
Las Vegas, Miami,
Austin,
and Austin. Yeah.
So I mean, you've got 3 opportunities in the U.S. to see F1, which is pretty incredible.
I mean, I when I think of F1, I think of Monte Carlo, right? That's like the where they literally race through the city.
They race through the streets.
It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's where it's like.
I really do enjoy Monte. I always watch the Monte Carlo race live if I can. If not, then I catch it secondary. But at least the time trials and stuff are really interesting and cool to see.
Yeah, it's they're in the principality of.
Yeah, I think it's pretty awesome. There's a lot of money in F1.
Yes, there is. It's not for the poor.
It's not for the weak of bank accounts.
Yes,
that's
correct.
for sure. But yeah, so seeing Sir Lewis Hamilton in Mercedes,
and to switch to Ferrari red.
To switch to Ferrari red is going to be pretty interesting. And he's been complaining about the Mercedes car performance over the last 5 years, and we kind of knew he wasn't happy, but we didn't know if he was going to retire or stick it out or whatever. And Toto Wolff is the team manager for Mercedes, and so you're sitting here. He's like, "No, we're working on it." Blah blah blah. And I don't know. I think he just kind of got frustrated. And like we said before, athletes, if you're a baseball player, you can kind of get control over your performance or whatever. But these drivers train really hard. They do all this. They eat right. They lift weights with their neck, and they do all these crazy things. I think for balance and everything else, core strength and because of the G-force.
Doesn't Lewis Hamilton, doesn't he need to win again, like a championship, right? Is he, I feel like he's tied with Michael Schumacher. Am I right? Am I wrong? Is he on the same?
I think he's there.
Okay, is he there? I just because I mean, famously, as Dale Earnhardt Sr. caught the king, Richard Petty, but never passed him for what used to be called the Winston Cup Championship.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see. And, I mean, I think for Lewis Hamilton, money talks and, BS takes the subway. And I'm sure money talked with Ferrari. I'm sure that didn't hurt. I'm sure it was in his defense, a really big check that he got.
Lewis Hamilton has beaten Michael Schumacher in multiple ways. He's the most F1 wins in 2020. So he broke Schumacher's wins with 91 wins and his 92nd victory in the Portuguese Grand Prix. And he has the most podium finishes in a row. So he has 17 consecutive seasons of winning. So, I mean, I think Hamilton is used to winning. He hasn't been winning the last few years. So I feel like, and somebody with that caliber of performance and wants to do well, he's going to go to a team that's going to give you a good car. And Ferrari's had a good car for the last 3 years. So, and they came second in Constructors' Cup. So there you go.
So there you go.
Big shakeups.
Big doings in
F1.
F1.
Yeah.
So episode 7 in the books.
Yes.
The Mickey Mantle.
7.
Lucky number 7.
Number 7. Yeah.
Yeah. No, just a regular average Saturday.
It is, and it's been spectacular.
It has been.
And I'm happy that this Saturday was made possible by 2 very important people in your lives.
It was indeed. So, shout out to them.
Yes. So,
so if you've stumbled on season 5, episode 7,
yes,
that certainly should lead you to conclude that there's been 4 previous seasons, 6 previous episodes this season.
One would hope.
So, Lydia, if you stumbled on us and you want to find us, where can you find us?
iTunes, Stitcher, Amazon, Google Play, Spotify, Audible.
Love Audible.
iHeartRadio, a Deezer Player FM, and YouTube.
Yep. You can also find us on Facebook, right?
Yeah, Facebook, You Don't Know Jack Podcast.
You can find us on Twitter /X, that's whatever you want to call it, at Jack YDK.
Yes.
You can find Lydia there at
RTL Pod.
And you can find me there at JMGGMPG.
Yeah.
So we'll celebrate a nice ordinary Saturday. Big game today.
Big game.
Army versus Navy.
Yeah.
One of the great days in I think in America when those two teams play. And go Navy.
Go Navy.
Beat Army.
Yes, beat Army.
All right.
Although Wes Moore would not prefer that.
Our governor in chief.
We love you, Wes, but not today.
Our governor's down for his state. He always is. Yeah. But he's an Army man through and through. 82nd Airborne combat veteran, and he. Did as you told me, a sneak,
a stealth
Instagram post.
Yeah.
That just
He's
said,
like, it's a secret operation. Army beat Navy, and I think that his staff probably would not have approved it otherwise.
His loyalty to our state runs deep, but there's something about the long gray line, and
and that's fine.
But it's a great game. I've been to it twice. I've loved it both times. It is an awesome experience. It's awesome to watch on TV. We've had any number of kids from Cumberland playing that game.
Yes.
Joe Ross, Jared Jacobs, Mark Furley, to name a few. I just think it's a great game, and it's played here. And it's going to be played outside the nation's capital in Landover in the Commanders, whatever they call it, their stadium though. Hopefully they don't have any raw sewage pipe breaks or some of the other things. I think with Josh Harris, though, they have cleaned up some of those problems.
They're working through it, and
I do not think the Army and Navy would be playing outside of our nation's capital if Dan Snyder was still the owner.
No, I don't believe so either.
So it's exciting. It is exciting to see that game there. But like I said, go Navy.
Go Navy.
All right. See you next time.